Hello, YouTube. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Instagram. I am doing a live collaboration with another fellow coach, Jess, as well. So we're going to wait till she jumps in here and then we're going to have a chat, everything about really reprogramming your mindset for success, whether that's more money, more business success. So let me just add Jess. Any questions as we start this as well? Let me know. Just make sure everything is set up. Hello to everyone joining. Okay, I think I've accepted Jess. Let's see if this works again. There we go. Hello, my love. Let me.
Am I here?
Can you hear me? I can hear you. Yeah, that's better. That's all right.
I've connected to just my data now. My Wi-Fi is so hit and miss.
Oh, that's all right. I can hear you now. I can see you now. How are you?
I am good. It's 9 a.m. where I'm here, so.
Good morning. Good morning. It is. It just like the time differences are still so funny for me. Like it's 6 p.m. here now. So I've lived in the future. I've lived a whole day before you.
Honestly, it weirds me out, even especially on like New Year's and Christmas. It's like, how
Literally. Literally. Well, I'm so excited to do this live. And for everyone that is joining us, everyone that watches the replay, Jess and I we have a very, very loose plan of attack. We're going to riff on both what we love to talk about, really reprogramming your mindset, your identity for more success. But this is coming off the back of Jess and I did a podcast episode for my podcast, the Jessica Pinili podcast. That will be live this week. Probably tomorrow, maybe nighttime, your time today.
Yeah.
So that is going to go up. But I thought for everyone, let's just go into kind of the things that we spoke about on there, give everyone like a preview, I guess, because even I know that we finished that episode. I listened back to it the other day and I was like, oh my God, this is so juicy. And I remember even saying to you, we need to probably do a part 2. So I think this is going to be like great to go into this live and kind of like riff the things that we both love talking about. But I thought that maybe we could start with like getting straight into it of what are some of your favorite things to do? Everyone loves money. Everyone loves to have more money. Everyone that is watching this replay or you're watching it live, let us know what you are bringing in when it comes to money. Because I know that we both speak about it's not just about the number in your bank account. It's not just about the cash in your hand. It's about the experiences. It's about the opportunities of bringing that money. And I know Jess and I speak about it in a very healthy way when you're reprogramming your subconscious mind and tapping into the identity of your wealthiest timeline. So Jess, what are some things that you are currently doing to tap into that wealthiest timeline, to tap into the most abundant, wealthy version of yourself?
I love this question. I was actually thinking about this yesterday because I was going to go live on it, but I think it's actually really suitable for our conversation as well of what to do if you slow down as soon as things get good. And I think the difference here for a lot of people is if you are wired to survive, then it can be really difficult on a subconscious level to shift that to create more than enough. And so for me, the way that I tap in, I'm quite a strategy girl. So for me, it's a lot of like journaling of what I'm grateful for from the present and the future, but then really getting deep on like, okay, how am I going to create that? And that's what gets me so excited. And for me, that's looking at like, what do I want beyond this year? What do I want beyond what wealth is to me today? Me and my boyfriend, we're going to start looking at houses soon. We want to travel. We want to I want to have so much money that my future children don't even know the word money problem. That's what I want to be looking at when it comes to creating overflow. And for me, one of the things I really did have to work through is slowing down as soon as it gets good. And so now that I have that awareness, that's one of our main focuses when it comes to looking at that wider mission, looking at that wider vision. So it's not just about hitting an income goal.
I love everything you said. I really want to focus on, and like, what a beautiful synchronicity, because I had this exact conversation this morning with a friend about hitting like an income cap, like this energetic ceiling where it's like you're going, you're finding this momentum, and business owners, probably can relate. You're hitting it, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, why can't I bring in any more money? Why do I feel like all of a sudden I hit that 5K month or the 10K month or the 50K month, and then it's like really, really hard? Or you attract more, and then all of a sudden you get an unexpected bill, or maybe your tire goes flat, right? So let's speak into that a little bit, because I think that everyone can resonate with that. And maybe people are watching and they're like, yeah, like, why am I hitting this cap? Like, I'm doing both Jesses. I'm doing the journaling. I'm doing the EFT tapping. Like, I'm tapping into my wealthiest version. I'm trying to change my mindset. But why do I still feel like I'm hitting this cap every single month?
Yeah, 100%. I see this happen a lot at the difference between kind of change your life money to actually change your life money. And so I'm currently just in relaunch for, excuse me, round 2 of my mini mind. And that mini mind's all about creating 5K months. And we actually finished the previous round tomorrow. And these are the kind of conversations we've been having, because for me personally, 5K months, when you're at the very beginning of your business, it feels like, wow, that's going to change my life. But when we actually get to create that, not much changes really in terms of our identity. It doesn't require this massive shift in how you hold money. It doesn't require that big of a shift in like CEO mindset of managing money. And the biggest thing for me, and I know I spoke a lot about like self-sabotage and imposter syndrome back at the big late 2022, when I started making 20K months and that kind of money. As soon as it had been like 3 or 4 months of that, I made around $70,000 in 4 months. Sorry, I've got my deodorant stuck in my throat.
That's okay. Hydrate.
As soon as I started hitting that, it got to a point where I was like, well, if I continue making more, I'm going to have to be really careful with... Excuse me. I'm going to have to be really careful with saving for tax. I'm going to have to, register as a limited company. All of these things that felt super scary and out of my identity. That is personally what I believe led to a lot of imposter syndrome. I spoke recently on a training in how my mental block that seems to come up a lot is I can't handle it. Now, very, very simply, I just go, yeah, but you can't. You can. But it's interesting because I think that's what stunted me and slowed me down when I was in that season of self-sabotage. The difference between, this money is going to like improve my life versus my next level is going to change my life. Who the fuck am I in that identity?
That is so important. I think it's what we don't realize is that we need to have this subconscious identity shift into whatever you're trying to bring in when it comes to money. Or even if it's like, maybe people are watching and they want to bring in a brand new car or that dream apartment or buy that house or that dream holiday. It's like, what's the monetary figure for that? But also, what's the identity around that? What's the shift in that? And I resonate with what you're saying. When I really wanted to make a leap in my income, it's like you can't keep playing at the same level and playing into the same identity, but you have to be able to recognize what are actually those thought patterns coming up, like consciously. And you will probably like this. It's like, that would be really good if I could hit that goal. And like, how cool would that be? So like consciously, it's like, I really want that. Like, I want more money. But then on the subconscious, I resonate because I was like, oh, I can't handle it. Or I won't be able to, or it's too scary to pay that amount of tax. Or, what will, a big one I see inside of with my clients, my business clients I've been working with lately is, well, what are my friends and family going to think of me if I'm making X amount of money? And this is a big thing. I know that I've definitely struggled with that. And so I think before even, like, if we're like looking at some tangible steps, before we even go, all right, I want to hit this month, this amount of money, or I want to buy that car by the end of the year. It's like, what are actually these subconscious thoughts after the conscious? So maybe go, yes, I really do desire that $20,000 month. Like, I just know that I'm worthy of that. what comes after that? What in your mind comes up? Do you go, oh, but I don't want to pay the tax? Or do you go, oh my God, like imagine if I had that amount of money, like do I need to go get an accountant? Like it's too hard. That straight away is going to cancel out the vibration that you want to get on that, and it's going to set you into this stream of self-sabotage.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I spoke about with my clients recently was it's not just one 20K month. It's looking at the next 12 months,
Yes.
bringing in 20K, because that changes it from 20K to 240K. Very big difference. And I think that's why a lot of people can see themselves have one high month, one big like crazy month, because there doesn't feel like there's a lot of risk attached to it when it comes to an identity level. But maintaining that really, really changes like how you see yourself. And I love what you said there around, you know, what if my friends and family don't like agree or like support this? The biggest piece for me was, what if I'm not relatable anymore because I can't be relatable with like complaining about money, things like that. And also, you know, what if they don't support me? But actually what I think happened was, because we already have those beliefs, I think you can end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy where you actually don't let your friends and family support you. You actually don't let them, and you don't recognize when they are celebrating you, because and I think it's because it's that self-sabotage and that fear dressed up in whatever belief fits sometimes, whatever belief you can find evidence for. And I know for me, I overlooked a lot of positive from my friends and family because I was so convinced that this was the risk. This was the thing that was holding me back from making money. And actually, I don't think, I can't actually see if it was or not.
And I think it's like really looking at, I love that you brought up the self-fulfilling prophecy, because it's true. The more we're playing into that, our brain, we're naturally wired to look for that evidence. It's like if you believe in your core that you are going to get judged or you're not going to be relatable, you will look for, as you're trying to scale to X amount of month, all of the evidence of your friends and family telling you you're not relatable, all of the signs you're looking for, you're quite literally seeking out. And so I think that, yes, that may be true. If we look at law of polarity, all truths coexist together, right? But I think it's also being very, very conscious. The funny thing about this work is that I say this to my clients, is self-awareness is being aware of what's happening, right? You know that it's happening. You know that, okay, I'm thinking this and I have these blocks and I know that I've reached a cap, like I've been trying for 6 months now. But the conscious awareness part is really, truly understanding how it's showing up, when it's showing up, what actually happens. The moment where you wake up and you're motivated, you're like, okay, new month, new me, I'm going to step into this. Like I have so much momentum. And then 3 days into that month, you find yourself scrolling or you find yourself creating content and you think, I'm not going to post that. Like, it's just not good enough. Or maybe you get one rejection from someone you're having a DM sales conversation with. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not worthy. I can't do it. Like, I can't, I'm never going to make this month. Straight away, like you're dropping that. That is quite literally you sabotaging. And that's what we need to be consciously aware of, is like in that moment, what is happening.
Because, so many times as well, and this is exactly what I struggled with last year, where I was suddenly super unmotivated. For anyone who doesn't know my business, especially in 2022, I ran a lot of group programs. I had a mastermind, I had one-to-one, and next thing you know, I was like, don't want to run group programs anymore. Wasn't creating like new content. I was repurposing a lot, which has its place, but should not be your main content strategy. Of repurposing.
I've been there as well. Yep.
And every single time I tried to like speak up or like say something new or think about creating a program, the main thing was I don't know what to say. Nothing that I say is good enough. And actually, and I speak about this so much because it's such an important part of my story, it took me 9 months, and I think we speak about this in the podcast, so I won't go too much into it, but it took me 9 months to recognise what was actually going on, because I wasn't looking at the what's going on right now. I was trusting that it was like, I was trusting that I just didn't know what to say, or I just felt slower or more tired. And actually, I now have a notes page in my phone that says, if you're not waking up every single day excited to create the life that you want to create, something's not right, and you need to look at
110%. It's the inspiration piece, right? It's looking at what are we keeping, and this is what brings our vibration down. This is what keeps feeding into those subconscious fears, is what are we still giving time and energy and resources to that isn't inspiring, that isn't driving us. You know, the inspiration piece is key. I say to my clients, if it's not inspiring, eliminate it or delegate it. There's no reason that it should be a part of what you're doing, because that's only going to bring you down further. And then it is. We're going to look for excuses when we're trying to reach that next level of money, the next level of income, the next level of materialistic items, or the holiday, or whatever it may be. That's when our brain goes, well, you're not worthy enough, or you can't do it, or don't create that program, don't put out that offer, or don't say that online. And so we keep small, and then we wonder why, God, it feels like I'm working so hard, but like I'm not making any more money. So for people listening, Jess, what do you think is like, where do we, if someone's like resonating, it's like, I can see this in my behavior. I can see that I'm doing this, or I can see I'm having these beliefs. Where can we start to actually work through these, or become more conscious of like, all right, I feel like the past 5 months I've just been sabotaging the fuck out of trying to make more sales in my business?
The first thing that comes up for me is recognize that this isn't how it has to be. I think when you're in that energy of you're waking up every day, and maybe you're motivated for the first hour because you're doing your journaling, but suddenly right down off a cliff, or every time you sell and someone doesn't sign up, you're counting the days, or you're like, it's always evident. It can feel like that super inspiring on a roll in the next level version of you is so far away, and it can feel like, am I ever going to get her back again? And I say this because I've been there. I've felt it. And so the first thing that I really encourage you to just sit and like recognize is, this is not my natural state. This is not how it has to be, and I will get her back, but something does need to change. For me, that was coaching. Like, I had a coaching session that just the questions that were asked completely pulled the veil off what was actually holding me back for 9 months. But then the other pieces were hypnotherapy and subconscious reprogramming. And I know that we're both so passionate about that. It's like, especially with hypnotherapy, like, you don't even have to do the work. With some of the hypno, you can just lie there and the hypnotherapist does it for you. Like, the amount of success stories I have as a client, and as I don't do hypnotherapy, but I do subconscious reprogramming with my clients, the amount of success stories is absolutely mind-blowing. So if you haven't done that, do that. But for me, the first thing was, you are the only person that can change this, and you might not know what's holding you back right now, but go on a quest and find out, because that is I really do believe that's the only thing that's going to move you forward and take you out of that slump or out of that self-sabotage season.
And I think sometimes in business, it's important to be able to just stop and pause. And it may feel like you're taking 10 steps back in the progress of your business, but sometimes that's absolutely necessary, especially if you're at this point where it's like, okay, I'm ready for this next level. I'm totally ready, but just things are just not working for me. It's like, pause. And like, I have had to do this before, so I understand how hard this can be, and like the feelings of anxiety it can bring up. It's like, oh my God, I need to slow down. I need to pause for a bit. But pause, slow down, do this type of work, put in the effort, rather than spending another 6, 12, 18, 24 months grinding, pushing, trying to do the same thing. And I think that if you are at this point now and you're resonating with all of this, like, start to reflect on the past 1 to 2 years of your behavior. You will probably start to see that you're just doing the same things. You're in the exact same cycle over and over again, but you're not realizing it, because you think that every month when you get a bit of motivation and you're driven, it's like, no, see, things are changing. But I truly believe, if you're not reflecting, I think you should have a self-reflection every week, but on a bigger scheme of things. And I love that you brought up, have a big vision. I believe, like, have that big vision, long-term vision, the long-term legacy you're working towards. But if you reflect back on your past 6 months and nothing has shifted, nothing has changed, especially if you feel like, I'm doing the work, I'm showing up, I'm doing the content, I'm pushing through, you are in same cycles. You are in cycles that are creating the exact same results. And I think that sometimes it can be hard to have those honest conversations. And like you said, this is one of the reasons why investing in coaches and mentors is so important, right? Is actually being able to have that reflected back to you. I've only just signed in. I deal with rejection from customers all of the time, and it can be deflating. I find I just don't take anything personally. I've disassociated and keep consistent. Hi, Mandy. Thank you for joining us. Jess, do you want to start there? I think this is a great thing, especially acknowledging that how you feel in the deflation. I'm sure Jess can resonate because I can. Like, we've all been there, right?
So I'm going to come at this from a subconscious reprogramming perspective, and I'm actually going to tell a story about a client that I recently worked with. Now, if you are new to this stuff, so I'm going to talk about frequency imprinting, which is a subconscious reprogramming session that I do with my clients. And what it is I want you to imagine that all of the beliefs, I've not explained this for a while. So if you have a belief in your brain, and when you were younger, usually below the age of 12, when you didn't have a conscious mind, your belief or your experience created a narrative in your head, and that was one single thread. And so every time you have an experience that contributes or fuels that narrative, you add a thread to the mix. So as an adult, you've now got this jumble of threads, and they're all literally jumbled. They're all super hard to separate, and we don't know which one was the first one. Inside frequency imprinting, what we essentially do in a very, very simple way is we dissolve one of those threads. The more frequency imprinting sessions that you do, and it's similar to hypnotherapy, is this kind of same thing that hypno does, the more threads dissolve. Now, I recently had a third session with a client, and she was struggling with a lot of taking a lot of things personally, especially if either clients pulled out or someone was something went wrong in a session or things like that. I'm trying to keep it as anonymous as possible. So I can't say the specific words, but we have basically worked through to the point where we were able to go all the way back to a childhood memory where she thought that she was left out, or that she wasn't people didn't want to be around her. And so whenever she suffered a rejection, or whenever something happened where a launch didn't go as well, it brought back, literally, we heard the words come through her mouth in the subconscious reprogramming, the same words of, I should have known better, I should have prepared more, I should have done this, should have done that. And so we really realised that these surface level things that are happening, our emotional response isn't the emotional response to the level thing, to the rejection, to the client not saying yes. It's a response to what happened the first time that narrative was created, or the second time, or the third. And when we're able to dissolve that, it helps us understand to an entirely different level why we respond to the surface level issue and what emotions it brings up, because it is literally never that top emotion, that top surface level issue. It's triggering that childhood and past experience that your inner child, your literal child, didn't know how to navigate or didn't have the logical reason to contextualize at that age.
And I think that is the key point there. And it's similar to what I show my clients with my framework, the emotional matrix, is you must go into the past. Whatever is happening right now in your present, you must go into the past to understand the fear that has been created in the present moment is stemming from a past resentment. And that past resentment is exactly what is driving. I mean, I think this is what, all of Joe Dispenza's work, right? He's like, you every single day, unless you're conscious, you are creating from yesterday and the day before and 10 years ago. And so being able to do that, getting in, I'm so glad, Manny, that makes sense. And this can help you, is being able to understand, where did that first trigger in your brain? Where did that first latch onto your brain, And like Jess shared with her clients, and I've seen it's incredible, isn't it, Jess, when you go through this work with a client and then all of a sudden they remember something that was from when they were 10 years old or when they were 16. And it's oh, that was such a small part of my life. And I'm Yeah, but from that small moment, it has created the reason why you reject money, the reason why you don't feel worthy holding on to money, the reason why every time that you get a no for a sale, you take it personally, and then all of a sudden you don't show up for a month. And so I think that the key point here is you need to always go into the deeper layers. It's never going to be, oh, I just don't think I'm worthy of money, or it's just like too hard to make money. It's not that. It's always going to be deeper.
And this is why, the journaling around money and, what were you taught about money growing up has its place so deeply, and it's a really great starting point. But I found that usually it's not because of what you were taught about money.
Yeah.
Usually, like, I'll give another example of my own. Was I realised that back in March, just before I was about to go into a launch, I realised that I had been putting everyone else's opinions above my own. And so if someone told me you're wrong, I'd be like, okay, I'm wrong, you're right. Like if I'd pedestalize everyone else's opinions above me. So I booked in a hypnotherapy session, and we ended up doing timeline therapy, where we went back to the earliest memory that I remembered of, like, basically in timeline you can go back to a limiting decision. So it's not a belief, but it's a decision you've made to protect yourself from feeling that way again. And I went back to being 10 years or 11 years old in the UK, you're in year 5, that's all I remember. And someone on the carpet where you sit on the floor in your school told me I wasn't allowed to sit next to them because they were saying something else. And we were able to look at the decision I made was, oh, well, it must mean that they're better than me, or they're more worthy than me, obviously in 10-year-old speak. And we literally watched on a film every single experience in my life where that limiting decision got reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And this is what I mean when I say it's not always about money, because the way that you make money through your business, if you're an online service provider as well, is through saying what you think online, being willing to have disagreements online, being willing to own what makes you different. This all creates income for you. This all brings your dream clients to you. And something that had held me back for so long was, well, what if I get cancelled? What if someone disagrees? Because I inherently believed that whatever anyone else said would be right and it would make me wrong. It's not always to do with what you were taught about money growing up.
Yes, I agree 110%. And this isn't spoken about enough. And I'm so glad we're both like on this same vibe of sharing this, because it's important. It's like, if you are like watching this and maybe you've had some experience with money mindset work, or maybe you have your own coach, and you're like, yeah, like I've been doing the work, but still, I'm still feeling this block. It doesn't, like Jess said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's what you got taught only from when you were growing up, and those beliefs, those are your belief systems. But look at the other things. Like, did someone tell you that, yeah, you're not worthy when you were 10 years old? Did someone tell you that you must work hard in order to be successful? It's got nothing to do with money when you were 14 years old at your first job or whatever. And I think that sometimes doing this work, it can be really scary, it can be really confronting, and it takes time. I say this to my clients as well, like, don't expect, all right, I'm going to sit down in one session with my journal and then I'm going to go through, well, for me it would be like my last 31 years, right, of life, and go uncover everything. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself that this is an uncovering, but I also think it's such a beautiful thing. I had a teacher in high school tell me I had the worst life she had ever heard. That impression has stayed with me for 40 years. Only once I got older could I see it for what it was. And these are the small things, because from that it can stem like how you feel about yourself, how you present yourself, how you show up for yourself. And thank you so much for sharing that, Mandy. We both really appreciate that. And, but it took me a long time to get over it, realizing it was her own insecurities. And that's another reflection, is we are all mirrors and we're all reflections and we're all bouncing off one another, right? And so we're just getting reflected back to us, everything else that people are feeling internally. But I think it also, this comes into, and I would love to hear your understanding of this, Jess, and your perspective is like, we also as individuals need to take responsibility, self-responsibility for the part that we are playing in our own suffering and what we choose every single day.
I absolutely agree. And I think, like you said, it can be really scary. And every time that I work with a client, it's that, especially with the subconscious reprogramming, it's the unknown. And so they'll turn up and they're like, oh, I feel really vulnerable. It took me over a year to do hypnotherapy with my therapist, who I saw every single week, and that trust was built, like, because it is the unknown, and it's that lack of control, because you don't know what you're stepping into. But you're absolutely right with, if there's one thing that's going to hold you back, and this is for anyone listening here, it's putting that power to heal outside of yourself. You know, as we know, we've all had experiences that impacted us. I really, really resonate with what you said there, Mandy, about like teachers. Teachers can be so damaging. And I know a lot of the work I've done is around primary school teachers and things like that. But the only person that can work through that and release that pressure and that control that it has over you, even when you don't even realize it's having that control, but it's a heavy weight, the only person that can do that work is you. And it doesn't matter how much we blame the people that hurt us or wronged us in the past, that is not going to change anything.
And that's the thing, it's taking the responsibility and knowing that that is going to open up gateways for you to understand yourself. And that's the whole point of doing this, isn't it? Is to understand yourself. And like Mandy's saying here, sometimes you need to feel uncomfortable to move forward and grow. And I completely agree in leaning into the discomfort. That's where it's going. You're going to hit the trigger points. You're going to hit the parts where it's like, oh, that feels a bit uncomfortable inside and I don't like that. Keep going, keep pressing, keep pushing into that, because I think that sometimes what I've seen in this work and, you know, being in this industry for the past few years is sometimes it's like we can get into a habit of working on the same things over and over and over again, because like we know them, it's still kind of like hard to work through, but we just like keep going. No, go and push into the things that you're like, oh, that hit a soft spot 2 years ago, but I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable being able to work through that. Press into those. Those are what is going to change your life. And like relating it back to what we said of money, those are probably things that you're going to, and as Jess was saying, probably necessarily isn't attached to money or wealth or success, but it may be a trigger point where you realize, hang on, I embodied that, and that is actually flowing out and affecting the way I bring in money and keep money.
And this is the thing as well, because it can be so easy to, you know, focus on the 10K months or focus on whatever goal any coach is using as their marketing, which is obviously part of our job. But the goal for our life is not to hit 10K months. It's not to hit 6 figure year. The goal is to be the best version of you. And I don't know if anyone is into human design, but I'm a third line, I'm a 3-5. So my life is trial and error. It is learning through mistakes. It is like making the mess in order to move through it. And I love that about me. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's always going to be a journey. The goal isn't just to hit that arbitrary goal. It's to become more you and become more healed. And, you know, life gets to feel easier. And I think a lot of the things that, one of the main beliefs outside of business that I see with people that I know and just people, you know, we see it on like Married at First Sight with that, the one that was severely traumatized as a child. I can't remember his name. The Australian one, Tim.
I don't know.
No, but this belief of like, well, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
This is the old, you know, this is just how life is. And one of the most dangerous parts of that is when you don't know that there's anything on the other side, because you've never experienced it. If you have had childhood trauma, if you have had a really difficult time in your upbringing, you don't know that there's better. You don't know that there's a different version of you, a more healed version of you, because it's all locked in Pandora's box and it feels too scary to touch. And so outside of business, because we always want to be doing this work on our life as well, and not just how to hit X amount of money, we want to be looking at that, like you said, press on where it hurts and actually lean into it, because that's going to create way more long-term success in how life is, looks, and feels than hiring the next coach to find the right strategy.
Yes, amen. And that's the thing, is like, what legacy are you creating? What's the long-term vision for yourself? Like, that's the important thing. It's so right, Jess. It's like there's too much emphasis on like I need to hit this to be successful, or I need to do that, or like, it's like, look at your life as a whole. What are you creating? Like, how are you having fun in your life? How is it inspiring? If you were here and you've created a business, or you were working a corporate job, it doesn't matter. Like, but is most of your life inspiring, or are you doing the same things? Are you choosing the same things all of the time? And going back to what you said is like the whole notion where a lot of people use is, oh, this is just who I am. No, because you choose that. You're choosing that every single day. And, I think that is a little bit of a victim mentality. And I say this with love because I've been there before. I've definitely had parts of myself where I'm like, can never change. It's just like the way I grew up. No, I'm making that choice consciously every single day to say that. And I think like what Jess and I are saying with so much love is like, you have this powerful choice to make every single day of how you are going to create your life, what you are going to do with your life, what the long-term vision is. It can change in 6 months' time, but you get to create that. And I think that it can feel super overwhelming to know that, that there can be lots to change, or you want to do so much. But I also think it's such a beautiful thing that we quite literally get to create what we desire, whether that's money, a family, relationships, career, business, health. We quite literally get to create that. And I think that sometimes we do ourselves a disservice of believing we can't, or believing we don't have the power, or believing that, because of what's happening in society or the economy or anything, that we don't have the power. Yes, we live in a 3D physical reality. Things are going to affect us, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a choice in the way that we respond.
And this is the thing, because unfortunately, the path isn't laid out in front of you. You're not given a map of like, this is what you need to heal, and this is exactly how you're going to heal it. It's going to feel overwhelming because you're looking at a version of you you've never met before, and you're trying to get to them, and you're trying to reach them. But it's that reminder of why, like, when you believe that it's possible, when you acknowledge that actually, yes, you can live without these cycles, you can live without finding yourself in the same place every single year over and over, why would you not do everything fucking possible to find a way to create that and to reach that person? And then with the legacy and things like that, a bit of an off topic, but the question I always come back to is like, what do I want to be known for?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I've always been so inspired by the idea of, I want the world to know my name. I want the world to know who I am. So that goes beyond planning out your next launch. That goes beyond looking at how to hit your next income goal. It goes to stuff like this, like reaching more people, showing up and having that voice and standing for what you believe in, which actually can't coexist with feeling like an imposter and sabotaging your success, because I've been there. It stops you from doing the things that you are so capable of doing.
I love that. And I think that what a beautiful message to everyone. And it's a reminder is that we do have this innate power to create what we want, but always looking at, and, this is, I know we both do this work with our clients, is like, what are you creating beyond this month? Like, that's the important thing. And like, are you having fun with it? Is it inspiring? Is it something you actually want to do, or does it not inspire you? And I think that is powerful. And everyone that is watching here, either live or you are now watching the replay, Jess and I have a podcast. By the time people are rewatching this, it will be out. It will be on our socials. So I highly recommend, as an extension from this conversation, we go into like a lot of the nitty gritty of the subconscious reprogramming, a lot of modalities, and it's such a great conversation. So highly recommend that if you think you've gotten something from this live from both of us, definitely tune into that. Stay tuned on both of our stories to get the link and to see when it is. But Jess, I think this was such a beautiful, and probably what everyone needed to hear. I feel like it just both, like, it flowed out of both of us what we were saying. And I think that if you're watching this, you probably needed to hear this, and this is a reminder as well. And I know that sometimes you can get to this time of the year, and there's two ways to go at it, right? You either start to slow down, lose momentum, and you're like, end of the year, like Americans, it's going to be Thanksgiving, and then the rest of the world is going to be Christmas. Like, whatever. And or you can capitalize and know that you don't need to lose momentum, that you can choose, you can pivot, you can still create what you want. But I said this on my story yesterday. You really should be looking at, what am I bringing into 2025 now? It's not this like hurry up and plan and you need to know. No, it's just like, as we are talking about long-term vision, long-term legacy, from like now, what are you creating? How is it this flow and effect? And when you start operating like that, you're able to zoom out on your life, business, career, relationships, whatever it is, and see how you can create things rather than living week by week or month to month and just like getting to the next month.
Absolutely. And I think that is really how you do step into that inspiring life. And actually what I would say is, if you set those kind of goals for 2024, I would be looking at the goals you set at the start of this year and those wider vision goals. Because I know for me, they are the scarier ones, you know, the speaking on stages, writing a book, doing all things that is like the big wide like vision mission. Have you moved on them? Have you actually because you can write your goals for 2025, but if you are watching yourself play out these patterns of saying it, but then always finding a reason why it should go on to next month and next month, which is nothing to be ashamed of, but it's something to recognize. Check in with, is this about just writing down and planning for 2025, or do I need to check in with the cycles that I'm playing out?
I love, always checking in, always self-reflecting, because if you're not self-reflecting, then you're not actually being able to analyze what you're doing, what's working, what's not working. Thank you so much for your time, Jess. I know that everyone has benefited from this. As I said, everyone stay tuned for the podcast episode. It's a beautiful extension of this. And as always, love speaking to you. Love the magic we create. I love the conversations we have. I appreciate your time so much, Jess.
I've had the best time. I'm so fired up for the day now. This is the best thing about having an 9 a.m. life.
Yeah, I was gonna wind down, but now I'm like, I'm feeling motivated again. Like I've got like content ideas coming through. So beautiful. Love this. Thank you so much for joining me, and everyone get ready to tune in to a very special podcast episode. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.